I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is out on assignment. Become a regular of that. I guess he's really busy these days, but we'll keep an eye on him, check on him. Did get to see him. I talked to him last week. He's doing well. Got a little graduation going on, college graduation going on. He has his own that he will be moving towards this week as he's getting to celebrate his oldest son graduating, finishing his lacrosse career in good standings. With that being said, let me bring in our co-host, Charles Bishop, as well as Bryan. I want to say welcome to episode 660 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports, for institutions large and small, from the NEIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. Simply put, we call it HBCU sports pedagogy. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta, along with my co-hosts, Charles Bishop and Bryan Fulton. We're filming from our home studios in Signal Live, KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Charles, how you doing today?
Doing well, Doc. Doing well. I mean, we are right here at the final weekend for baseball, so I mean, we take a look at some things going into the baseball tournament. So it's going to be a fun discussion tonight.
Yeah, I got a package full from you. We're going to do a little analysis, breakdown where things could be, where they can't be, where they might be, where they not going to be, and some people might say ain't going to be, if you would. But it'll be interesting. But with that being said, let me go to Bryan. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing okay. You know, I'm a little sore, a little salty. You know, after Sunday. I'm being me. Can I be me, Charles? I'm gonna be me. You know, but I enjoyed watching a great softball tournament over the week. I'm very proud of Coach Beal's Florida A&M Lady Rattlers. So I'm very, very proud of.
I caught it.
That's pretty good.
I'm very proud of the team and what they accomplished under Coach Beal in her first year. Real excited about the future. Good to see that the you know. The rivalry is strong, man. The rivalry is strong. And by the way, I will say, Charles, I enjoyed hearing you call all those runs that came across the plate over the weekend. I enjoyed it. I know you had a good time calling, and here come the Rattlers with another. If I was playing a drinking game, I'd have took a shot. I'd be dead drunk every time you said the word Rattlers come across the plate. I'd be dead drunk, Charles.
And they scored a lot of runs.
Yes, we did. But it was a good call. I enjoyed it. Good broadcast.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good stuff. They got a little ugly over here in Houston. There's too much orange and green, I tell you all weekend.
You know, we show up. We show up in certain cities, right?
Oh, yeah, they had a nice contention out there. They cheered on. What I do appreciate, I don't know if this is about the Rattlers, they cheer on their team, but some programs like to come in here, and if things are going their way, you talking about being a little salty. They know how to kind of salt in your wound if it's not going the Tigers' way. You all do. And I know y'all can do that in football, and I've seen y'all start to even maybe think you can do it in basketball, men's and women's for that matter. But fortunately for us, it hadn't made it over to baseball yet, which is a little surprising because y'all got some thing to kind of rub some salt in there. But yeah, when those days come, it sure might be nervous. We'll have to change things around here as you start to coming into Texas like this. We don't take this too kindly around these parts, beating up on our programs like that. So just saying. Before we get into it, we'll take that second segment. We'll get into some news of the day. We'll do that in the second segment. I want to get up some current news. As you said, we'll talk about some champions, but we have the chance to announce 2 champions literally today. Is going on the SWAC men's and women's track and field. And currently, if you would, on the women's side, with 14 of 21 events scored, you have a tie for first place. Go and give you the top 4. Top 4 is Alumni with 58 points. What's interesting, they are projected to hit 95 points, right? And that would not keep them in 4th place, but they are there now. You have sitting in 3rd place the Alabama State Hornets, 78.5 where they stand, but they're projected to get to 139.5. If they do that, they would win everything, which is tradition. They've done that quite a bit. Behind to do it, but they are projected to get there. But currently tied at the top of the standings with 15 or 21 events scored now, just updated. Southern and Prairie View are tied at the top at 86.5. Southern is projected to get to just 91.5 points, while Prairie View is projected to get to 107.5. FAMU was previously projected, as I open things up, they're at 6th spot now. They were projected to get to like 101, but to see how timely these updates are now, they're projecting because they didn't do well probably in the race 14 and 15 where they were. Didn't finish as strong as they thought they were going to finish, and so they dipped down to 99.5. So it's going to be interesting to see those projections. Do things stand out, or can folks do some upsets in some of these races enough where either Southern or Prairie View can hold on? In fact, with 16 races, things are updated live here. Southern has pulled out in front. They've increased their projections to be at 94.5, so a mild upset there. They're at 92.5. They don't have a lot of room projections, so they're going to have to do some upsets to keep things going. Prairie View is slid in the second at 86.5, still projected to get at 106.5. Alabama State is at 79.5. They slipped a little bit. They only projected to get the 130.5 instead of 131. But fascinating to see how these things are raced. And now FAMU has did an upset. They're still moved up to 4th place at 77.5. And now they're projected to get back up above 100, in fact, to 108.5. So we might give you some of those updates throughout the show. Let me tell you what it looks like on the men's side of things. Fascinating to see what that looks like as that race is going on. With 14 of the 21 events. Give you the top 4 as they stand now. I might sneak in Prairie View. You know what that's about. They're at 5, 48. Only projected to get to 59, though, so won't stay there. At 4 is Arkansas Pine Bluff that has done well this season, 62 points, but they're only projected to get to 89. Sitting in the 3rd spot now, again, this is 14 to 21, Vince, Charles, and Bryan. It's Bethune-Cookman out of Florida. 69 points currently, projected to get to 95. At number 2 slot is Jackson State, 81 points, but they're projected to make us some room at 127, which means that puts them in area where if they can get some upsets, they can jump over Texas Southern, who's currently out there way ahead at 121. They are projected to get to 136, though. It's going to be interesting to see, can Texas Southern hold on to things? Obviously, this would be their 6th consecutive SWAC men's championship over the last couple of years. That goes back to cross country, indoor track and field, and outdoor track and field. So they are projected to hold on. We'll see what that looks like. Wanted to give you some updates before we go into this first break. Exciting when you can talk about track and field live as that's going on. Again, updates as the MEAC tournament is coming up. Be interesting to see what goes on there. They will be aired on ESPN Plus, and that is scheduled for Thursday. 3-day event. That's Thursday, starting Thursday, May the 15th, 1 p.m. Shotgun, if you would. Men's decathlon, and we'll conclude on Saturday, May the 17th, with the women's and men's 4x4, which always gets everybody exciting, with that scheduled to be at 4:35 and 4:55 respectively, and that is Eastern Standard Time. To get a chance to see them live on ESPN Plus. Many of you all hopefully have 2 iPads, so you're watching us as well as watching on the SWAC Digital Network some races, as we're seeing some speed here coming down the track in the race currently. Folks has gotten out there a little bit and takes it home. As man, it's fun when you get it going on like that. So let's take our first break, come back on the side. We'll switch it to baseball. Bryan, you wanted to get some stuff in?
Well, I did want to say because I know we're going to transition, but the event that's going to shape the women's title is about to come up. It's going to be the 800-meter finals, because you have 4 runners from Florida A&M and 2 runners from Alabama State. And in terms of the heat rankings, FAMU has the 1, 2, 3, and 6th runner. Alabama State has the 4 and 5. So that's going to shape some things. And then also, I'm just projecting on the women's side that women's 5,000 meter is also going to be key, because I think that's where Alabama State has an opportunity because of the number of runners that they have versus Florida A&M. Like, they have 4 young ladies who run that event. FAMU has 1. And if I recall, last year, either in the indoor or last year at the outdoor, that was the event that sort of created the separation in the last couple of events. And it is like the second to last event. So, I don't know. I don't know.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and that's about to come up. So now's the time to get that, like you said, get the iPads out, get the 2 monitors set up, get ready to get on the SWAC Digital, because that's going to be a fun race to watch while you're listening to us.
Good stuff. I appreciate you. Great comments. Can't get updates like this live, particularly on the Sports Talk in terms of track and field, and even so baseball. But we do that inside the HBCU Sports Lab, BCSN, as well as Sports Wrap. We're going to do what we do. We'll take our first break, come back on the other side. Let's get a little bit in terms of the rankings. We're going to tell you where these teams stand. Then we'll, in the second half of the show, we'll get a little bit about the key matchups, and then we'll get in some if this, then that. See what these gentlemen think about how things can fall out, who they will see. We'll talk about, again, who currently are the top 8 teams, meaning what does the field of 8 look like at this point? Do we see any changes moving forward? So we'll come back on the other side, talk about where the teams are standing the week before the last weekend of play. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural tastes, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
When you're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Bryan, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Nice. Charles, a little shout out there for Jackson State Tigers. Shout out to Ashley Robbins. Find a way to continue to get things done there. Charles, I did say that we're going to look at the conference standing top 8. Before we do that, I'd be remiss if I didn't let you have any news that you wanted to share as I kind of jumped out ahead of everybody in that first segment to get that update for the SWAC.
Well, I mean, that was, I think, going to be one of the top news stories there. Of course, talking about Jackson State being able to win the SWAC Women's Softball Championship, and I'm going to get it pulled up here as I went black here for a second. So if you give me an opportunity, I can get it up, and here we go. Jackson State claims a softball tournament title. Jackson State took a 2-1 lead in the second inning and never surrendered the advantage on the way to a 3-1 victory against Florida A&M on Sunday to claim its second. They go back-to-back, Dr. Bill, claim its second SWAC softball title in 2 years. So I want to say Brooklyn Morris, she got the win for Jackson State. She went 7 innings, giving up 1 run on 5 hits, allowing 3 walks, and striking out 1 batter. For Jackson State in the batter's box, Kalia Gibson, she went 1 for 3 on the day with a triple, and Junior Ariano Murillo, she finished a standout effort as well, going 1 for 2 with 2 RBIs. So now Jackson State, they're slated to play in the Tuscaloosa Regional, hosted at the University of Alabama. So they'll be joined this weekend at Rose Stadium by Alabama, Virginia Tech, and Belmont. So congratulations, Coach Kevin Montgomery and Jackson State, capturing back-to-back softball titles.
Well, looking good there, Jackson State. Get it done. With that being said, I'd be ashamed if I didn't give Bryan the same opportunity to give what news he wants to share in the update before we get to these standings for the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Well, I'll stick to the softball theme and make mention of Howard University winning the 2025 MEAC Softball Championship. The top-seeded Lady Bison claimed the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference Softball Championship with a 6-1 victory over the 6th-seeded South Carolina State Lady Bulldogs on Saturday at the NSU softball field. The win is the first MEAC title since 2022 and it secures the Bison an automatic berth in the NCAA softball tournament, which was revealed on Sunday. And I don't know, do we have in there who they are going to be playing? Because I know that information. Oh, yes, they will play. The Lady Bison with a record of 31-18 will face the number 14 seed Duke Lady Blue Devils. I don't know if it's still Lady. I'm doing that whole lady thing. Whatever. The Duke Blue Devils in the opening round of the Durham Regional. First pitch is scheduled for noon Eastern on Friday, May 16th, and will air live on the ACC network. It's a double elimination regional format, also featuring Coastal Carolina University and the University of Georgia. And just in case anyone doesn't know, they do the top 16 seeds all host different regionals in quad fours. And I will say this, I'll get on my soapbox here if you will allow me. I appreciate the fact that softball does this format where you get at least 2 matches, unlike volleyball, which is I almost cussed. It's a shame that volleyball, a sport that is easily a quick sport, does not take any kind of time to play, in my opinion. But it's a shame that in a similar format, volleyball doesn't have a double elimination. So you send and I'm speaking because, and Charles knows this because y'all were in the same boat last year, where they send us out to these, God forbidden, to play the number 1 overall seeded team, and then you don't get a chance to play twice. You know what I'm saying? It's like you go play once, you get beat in 3 or 4 sets, 4 sets if you're lucky, but usually it's 3, and then you go home. Hey, thanks for participating. It's a shame. NCAA, shame on you. Shame on you, and shame that you can't create a format. At least the softball teams get 2 games where, look, who knows? You might shock somebody in a game, or it might be real competitive, and you might force a 3rd game. You know what I'm saying? But at least you get a double elimination format with 4 teams. I don't understand why volleyball can't do that. Shame on the NCAA committee. I'm off my soapbox. Thank you for the time.
Oh, I appreciate it. It's a good soapbox. Charles, Jack State is heading to Auburn.
They're heading to Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah, I did have one more thing, which is good news. I don't want to give a shout out to Kim Rashad. Great article today on HBCUs winning as coaches in baseball. Full of facts, and for a lot of individuals who don't follow baseball, it's good to know who are some of what I would consider the Mount Rushmore of HBCU baseball. When you talk about guys like Roger Cador, Bob Brady, Prez Jones, and Wilbert Ellis, and then one for me. Not following as much ball on the East Coast, but definitely Marty Miller from Norfolk State. So I think that was a really good write-up. And then Rat McGowan, people kind of forget Rat McGowan at Alcorn in terms of Willie Rat McGowan in terms of his success down at Alcorn. But it's important to make sure that their history is continuously documented. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, shout out to Ken. Certainly, like when we get a chance to put a little history in this. Cavil, would you put co-champions on a ring for games you opted out of?
Crook is the worst.
That's a little different one for me. Let me get these rankings out here. We'll take our next break and come back on the other side and get a little more details in it. With that being said, wow, folks going to do it like that. For 15 to 21 events, Texas Southern is still up there at 125. Jackson State currently at 88 to give you that side of things. Just before we get again into these rankings, I wanted to give you that. And then as we talk about what that looks like for the women, they're up to 17 to 21 events. Alabama State has done what we projected they were going to do. They've jumped into first place. They're still projected to get to 126 as they continue to climb. They're at 97.5. Southern has stayed at basically 90 points, 92.5, slid to number 2. Prairie View is in the 3rd spot with 90.5 points. FAMU is at 88.5. They're projected to get at 109.5, while Prairie View is projected to get 105.5. With that being said,
I'm sorry, and as I told you, Alabama State did it in the 800. Their two young ladies finished 1st and 2nd, and unfortunately, Florida A&M finished 4th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So, I mean that in itself might have cost.
Yeah, when you only get 2 and they find a way to finish 1st and 2nd.
1st and 2nd, yeah, that's a big 18-point jump.
Yeah, it blunts the 4 that you have in terms of that. At least not one of them jumping up there and getting the 1st. Good points. I'm glad you shared that before we get in this top 8. Let's do this. The bottom 3, they're out of the picture, which is Alcorn State sitting at 1-26. They're 6-40 overall. Alabama A&M is 2-24, 10-37 overall. Mississippi Valley State is 7-20 and 12-26 overall. So as you see here, this is where it gets interesting. Currently, Texas Southern is on the outside looking in. This is a team at one point were top 3 in the conference. Bryan said earlier then he had some concern whether Texas Southern was that good. Some of us thought they were playing good and knew they would hit tougher teams, but I don't think anybody would have thought they would have kind of fell where they are now. They've lost 6 straight. To give you some indication of what that looks like. They're still in the mix, but they're outside looking in at 14-13, which means as we look at this, all teams will not necessarily play all 30 games. So another point to look here is that don't look just at the record, but the more important point is the winning percentage. And currently, they are at .519. So when you talk about that, the team that's above them is Jackson State, sitting at 14-12, which means they have a winning percentage of .538. They are 27-19, while Texas Southern is 21-28 overall, just to give you that. Jackson State has lost 2. And then you have Prairie View sit at 13-11. They were on the outside looking in for a while, but they've kind of gotten hot, specifically with a big series win where they needed all 3 and they got all 3. They're at .542. So they're in the mix, but they're not totally out of it. There are some scenarios that we'll talk about in the next segment that they need to win, even though they have a tough matchup, and we'll talk about those matchups shortly. You have Southern sitting at 15-11. I remember when Carlos Brown was extremely concerned about what they're playing, but they've won 8 straight, including sweeping several series. A big one where things kind of started off, at least for them, was against Texas Southern. Got it done. They sit at 15-11. They're at .577 in terms of the win percentage. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like. So you see you have 4 teams sitting right there at the above 500. Some a little closer to 500, some a little further away, closer to 600 mark. But it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. Then you got Arkansas Pine Bluff. They're 14-9, 609 in terms of where they are in terms of winning percentage. I will say this now. What's interesting about Arkansas Pine Bluff, they can't afford another rainout of all the series. They got to get one more in. They're not at the 80% mark currently. Everybody else is at least at the 80% mark. They want to get games in because it's going to determine seedings. And then we get in these next 2, which are Grambling State sitting at 16-10. They're at 6-15. Alabama State is at 18-9, sitting at 6-67. You have FAMU sitting at 21-6. They're at 7-78. Bethune-Cookman is at 22-4 and 8-46. What is interesting, at least for these top 2 teams, is Bethune-Cookman, as we talked about in our text change, that they were not able to get the last game in. They were playing good baseball. They had won 2 straight. If they won that, they pretty much could guarantee that they would at least got a share of the championship. Now they're at a point where they have to win one more game than FAMU to make sure they lock up the number 1 seed. So this last weekend has a lot on the line, not only in terms of seeding, but in terms of regular season championship is still on the line. Whether you get in the tournament is on the line, and certainly where you seeded within the tournament is on the line. So we'll take this next break. We'll come back on the other side, get some of your comments on that, and then we'll take a deeper dive in terms of the matchups. We'll talk about those matchups. And in the last segment, we might touch on it a little bit in the third segment, but certainly in the last segment, we'll take a deeper dive. I have a breakdown of where teams could fall. If they're able to play all 3 games in the series, we'll look at the fact whether they lose all 3 or they win all 3, or if they win 2 out of 3 or just 1 out of 3. We'll tell you where their percentage would have them. And based on that, we can get into some discussion on what do you think, who's going to be in out, particularly after you see what does that look like based on after we come back from this break. We'll talk about these matchups this weekend and who may have favorable matchups and who may not. With that, let's take our next break, come back on the other side, and we'll talk just about that. We may give you another update to see if anything has changed in the SWAC Outdoor Men's and Women's Championship there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on the campus of Southern University. With that, let's take our next break and come back and do that on the other side.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit HBCUPrideJoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Professor Bishop, Professor Fulford. With that being said, both men's and women's have finished 17 of 21 events. So let me give you an update. Texas Southern still holds the lead by 25. They're at 125. They're projected to get to 134, while Jackson State has closed the gap a little bit. They're already at 100, but they've lost a little bit in terms of their projections. So they need to have some upsets closing down the stretch because they're projected to get 130, while Texas Southern is projected to get 34. 4. Such a big gap. I'll just focus on those two. Charles, don't answer this question, but I feel bad if I don't put it out there. You're alum of both institutions, Texas Southern, Jackson State. So I get this question all the time. Prairie View, Texas Southern play each other in the race. Who you going for? I'll let you, off the record, I'll let you know how I tell you I answer that just for safety. And now, I'm going to go there. I'm going to protect you from that one.
Thank
On
you.
the women's side, 17-21, that's how you look. He's like, no, you can't do that. I got you. On the other side, we will look at the top 4 in terms of what they looks like. Particularly with Bryan on here, number 4, Florida A&M sitting at 88.5. They are projected to close the gap at 109.5. Sitting in third is Prairie View at 90.5. They're projected to get to 105.5. So that would put them behind Florida A&M. Southern is currently in second place. They're at 92.5, but they're only projected to do 94.5. So they pretty much have done most of the damage they're going to do. So we'll see how much that changed. Alabama State has now jumped up to number 1 from when we started the show. They have a 5-point lead. They're at 98.5, which is just shrunk, actually, as we're talking about it. They were at 130 projected. FAMU has leaped Alabama State at 98.5. This is with 18 of 21 races, so major upset somewhere out there. And the projection from FAMU has jumped. They're projected to get to 119.5. And Alabama State has fallen in terms of their projection. They are only projected to get to 121.5. So this closing stretch could be interesting and something that you want to keep your eyes on, as Alabama State is falling behind now. They are still projected to win it, but it will be a close finish. You're only talking about 2 points.
Here's where it's going to come down to. Of the 3 races, the women's 200, you have 4 Rattlers versus 1 young lady from Alabama State. So that's going to be interesting. Now, that is the converse, or that is the flip of what you're going to have in the women's 5,000 meter, where you're going to have 4 Alabama State runners and 1 Florida A&M runner. And then, so look, how everyone finishes in the top, 3, 4?
It's going to determine everything.
Yes,
it will determine everything.
Yes, because and look,
it.
I would love for us. Wouldn't it be great? I mean, look, FAMU do its thing in the 200, Alabama State doing its thing in the 5,000, and it comes down to the good old 4x400 relay. Yes, that would be epic. That
would be epic.
Get your popcorn. Get your popcorn ready.
Television. Yeah. Way to draw it out. That's how you sell it, Bryan. We need to put you on the payroll, bro.
Hey,
That's
I appreciate it. Tell a friend.
Exactly. Let's look at these matchups. We just gave you the standings. Let's look at these matchups as we keep an eye on what's going on here in track and field. But let's get in these matchups because it might be a close one going down the stretch as well. The first one, Florida A&M at Alcorn. It is in Alcorn. Can Alcorn find a way to scratch out one to kind of save their season at home? I would say it's probably not likely. FAMU needs to sweep to give themselves a chance to see if they can put the pressure on Bethune-Cookman. And while we talk about Bethune-Cookman, it's Texas Southern going to Bethune-Cookman. Texas Southern, as we told you, they're out. So they need to win a game at least. They have to find a way to win one more game than Jackson State, Prairie View. We'll talk about that in the last segment of what that looks like in terms of percentage. But they got to find a way to get some things to fall in their favor, but they have it on the road. They're not in Daytona, though. They're in Sanford, Florida. Bethune-Cookman has played several games there, but it's not necessarily their home field. Can they use that? Long trip for Texas Southern, first time going out there to play baseball in terms of against Bethune-Cookman. But, boy, you talking about Texas Southern having their backs against the wall, currently facing the number one team in the conference that needs to show out and have the bats and have a good series. They really need to sweep to guarantee themselves a regular season championship. Would that be the first one in the conference for Bethune-Cookman since joining the SWAC, their first championship? I'm not mistaken. I think it is. And they would love to do it in baseball, certainly on the men's side of things. With that being said, let's go back up here to another one that's interesting. Alabama State is on the road to Prairie View. Prairie View needs this to make sure they stay in the race in terms of they're currently in the tournament. If they can get a couple of these games, they can ensure themselves and maybe even slide a little further up in terms of ranking. But Alabama State, while they can't catch Bethune-Cookman, really Alabama State either, they're kind of locked in their third seed, but they do have Grambling looking in the window there where they want to play good baseball closing out the season. But it'll be interesting to see what that looks like on the road there. Thing that's interesting about that, we at least get the first game underway before everybody else does. Because of Prairie View's graduation this year, they're doing 3 ceremonies on 2 days. They're doing a Friday and then doubling up on Saturday. So they start Wednesday. So they play Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like. When we got a red heart, Arkansas Pine Bluff in a lot of ways. Usually we're talking about them even trying to squeeze in the tournament. Most of the time on the outside, well, they're pretty much solidly in. The thing is, they need to make sure they can get one game in. They're in Huntsville, Alabama, which had some trouble in terms of the field. Certainly weather last week of getting games in. They were not able to get all 3 games in against Southern. They pushed them back to Sunday where they got the doubleheader in. So keep your eyes on that. Arkansas Pine Bluff has to play at least one more game to meet the 80% rule in terms of being eligible for the tournament. So they could flip everything. You got to imagine they'll get a game in. But with that being said, I got to put it out there. Then you have Grambling State against Mississippi Valley State, another team that struggled. They had a couple of wins. They're at home. Grambling State wants to finish strong. They get a chance to push it a little bit, maybe jump into that 3rd seed, but they want to at least hold on to the 4th seed, so they really need to sweep Mississippi Valley State, give themselves a chance. We talked about Texas Southern, and I'm saving this one for last on purpose. Southern and Jackson State. Fascinating. We talked about this potentially a couple of weeks ago. We saw this, that this may be for both teams, one of the teams getting in. Well, Southern did what they had to do and had some help from some other folks, where Southern has pretty much solidified themselves in it. There is a scenario that could have them in some real disposition. But Jackson State has to find a way at home to get at least one of these games. They really need to get 2 of 3, which is going to be tough, but they're at home. They are playing a rival, so they're going to play up. They get 2, they put themselves really in solid position to make sure they're in and don't have to worry much about what anybody else does. So those are your matchups. Before we get into this last segment where we break some stuff down of where teams could be in terms of percentage, where you allow me to kind of nerd out on some things, if you would. Bryan, you could maybe appreciate this a little bit from a perspective of how you had some bets. And Charles is he's had his head full the last couple of semesters with statistics. Has fallen in love with this too a little bit, like Mike, as he would like to say, the data points. With that being said, quickly before we break, anything of these games stand out to you before we get to the breakdown?
The team on the outside looking in, what they have to do. I mean, I think that's the one that jumps out for me. I mean, Texas Southern and Bethune-Cookman, you taking on the gauntlet that is Bethune-Cookman, who are you said a game away from regular season SWAC championship, and you're asking Texas Southern to try to go in there and swipe a couple of games just to get into the tournament. It's a tall task, but we'll break down how it could possibly happen.
Right. Bryan, any thoughts in terms of what matchup has your interest or 2 and why?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard this weekend to nail down just one matchup because 5 through 9, right? I mean, Texas Southern conceivably they're 9, but they could jump up to as high as 5 in one weekend, right? So there's not that much of a difference. I mean, the only difference, you're talking everybody has 14 or 15 to 13 wins, but the losses are what's throwing the positioning off, and UAPB really, because of the fact that they're short 3 games, well, right now, short 3 games, and like you said, Doc, all they have to do is get to a 24th game to reach the 80% mark. So that's one of these 3 games. All they got to do is win. They're in the best position, but they also, if they stub their toe on the road in Huntsville, they're the ones that's going to be on the short end of the stick, wishing that, oh man, I really wish we could get in that extra 3 games. Well, you won't have that shot at this point.
You're right, exactly.
But
well, gentlemen, before we take this break, go ahead, Charles.
No, I was saying good weather this weekend in Huntsville. I checked the forecast. We're gonna get some games in. So.
All right, well, that blows that one out the water. Guess what? I just looked at an update, and on the men's side of things, 18 of 21 events. Texas Southern is still leading comfortable. It shrunk a little bit by 18. They're at 125, so things haven't changed for them. But Jackson State has picked up some points.
What is that going to come down to?
7. It projected what it comes down to. You think the women's side, things have gotten close with 2 points? Projected to be a 1-point difference. Texas Southern, the squeeze, the hold on at 134, but Jackson State has made things interesting as they're projected to get to 133. With that being said, let's take our last break and come back on the other side as these things are getting interesting. We'll see you home watching some SWAC men's and women's track and field. I believe that. With that being said, we're going to get some magic and give you some data. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this last break.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loot machine.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let me give one update. I love the point projections, the way they look at it. They updated the points in Jackson. Instead of having 107, They are currently at 106, so that means they're projected to get 132 versus 134 for Texas Southern that is currently at 125. So 2-point spread at the end if things continue the way they are going projected. FAMU has shocked the world.
Oh, wow.
With 19 of 21 events, they have jumped up to 122.5, and they are now projected to basically get to what Alabama State was originally projected to get to, which is 131. They are projected to get to 130.5. What's interesting is the fact that Alabama State has not gotten the points that they thought they were going to get, and they have dropped in their projection. Instead of getting to that 130 mark or 131, they are only projected to get to 120.5.
Wow.
We're currently at 102. So there is now a huge swing, which was just 1 point, where Alabama State was projected to jump over FAMU. Now FAMU has spread that lead, and that 20 points is the difference. And FAMU is projected to win as 2 more events are left. 19 to 21 to finish. So it will be interesting to see.
He's not the king off the throne.
Come out of the box where they were flirting on the women's side in track and field. Do they represent for the state of Florida in the SWAC and saying there's a new track and field women's at the top of the mountain, which means I need to talk to my people back in Fairview in Texas and Texas Southern. What y'all doing on the women's side of things?
Yeah.
Now, look, here's the thing. I'm looking at some of the numbers. We have a young lady who's going to be running this event, and I'm hoping that she runs because if I recall, last year we didn't run a couple of the young ladies in this 5,000 meter health concerns. You know, we just felt like, I think in talking to the coach Ellenwood, he felt like for the protection of those ladies that he didn't think that we could close the gap even if they ran the event. So he kind of, I'm saying it, not him, that he kind of conceded the victory to Alabama State and was really kind of playing for second or third because he knew that the 2 young ladies who were running, so he scratched them. I'm hoping that the young lady who's listed runs because she runs a top 5 time based on everybody that's in this field, which we kind of need that buffer. I don't want this thing to come down to the 4x4. I'm done. I don't want it there. I'm sorry. No drama. No, I had enough drama on Sunday. Come on, man. I had drama on Sunday. No more drama, like Mary J said. No more drama.
Man.
No more drama.
I was about to say good putt. You know when you say good putt, that's when a putt is missed. So I was ready to good putt.
I love it. As Bryan said, that 200-meter race, the women, FAMU went 1, 2, and 5.
Wow.
ASU took 4th. And that's probably going to be the key, the final dagger. We will see as it has just got interesting. You're talking about going down the stretch.
They coming off that corner.
All right, let's go back to this baseball and close this thing out. Give me the standings again, just so folks can see that before we get in these matchups. I want you to see the standings here, right? 1 through 12. Top 8 are into the tournament. This year, your seedings go 1 through 8. You don't have the opposite 1 versus 4 as we did divisions, 2 versus 3, and 4 versus the 1, obviously, right? So now, let's get into some of these scenarios. Let's start at the top in terms of Bethune-Cookman and FAMU. So you can easily see I have highlighted in the team's colors the current records in terms of what you just saw in terms of the rankings. So obviously, if they get all 3 games in, that means a team can go 0-3, 3-0, and somewhere in between 1-2 and 2-1. So you can see here that, as I said, Bethune-Cookman needs to win 2 more games than FAMU, because if they go 1-2, when FAMU goes 3-0, you see that FAMU ends up at 800, and Bethune-Cookman would end up at 793. And FAMU would capture the first regular season championship since the expansion back in 98 and 99, where the SWAC was split into the divisions. We hadn't seen a full conference standing of previously between the expansion to a 10-member SWAC where you had 2 5-team divisions. That's the last time you've seen just one complete standing. At that time, 8 teams obviously playing baseball. So somebody gets to crown themselves a champion of a 12-member SWAC, which is fascinating. This is a 2-game series. You see what this looks like. Bethune-Cookman at Texas Southern. FAMU looks like they will sweep as they obviously.
Let's go Tigers.
Go to the
only time I'll ever say let's go Tigers.
Do you see a way where FAMU can get it done? Texas Southern has the biggest upset of the year, probably.
Yeah, I mean, and here's what I take a look at. I think Texas Southern's best options for upsetting Bethune-Cookman are obviously going to be, I think, on Thursday, Friday. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Cavil McClendon, he should take the bump on Thursday. And then Justin Mays will pitch on Friday. Cavil McClendon, at least, that's, I think, Texas Southern's best opportunity, that first game. Cavil McClendon has given some good starts, some quality starts. They lost 10-1 this past Friday, but Calvin went 8 innings and really kept them in the game. He went 8 innings, only gave up 3 earned. He had another series against UAPB, a series they lost, where he went 7 strong innings. He gave up, 2 earned runs. So he's a crafty left-hander. He can get teams off balance. He works both sides of the plate, does it really well. Doesn't have much on the fastball, but he can sneak it past you. In fact, he's in the top 5, I believe, in the SWAC in terms of batters caught looking. So that's one of those things that kind of keep in mind with regards to Friday. I think that's going to be their best opportunity. Justin Mays has given you some quality starts. He was well north of 100 pitches this past Saturday. But he kept Texas Southern in the game. So if it's going to happen, it has to happen, obviously, those first 2 games. But it's a tall order. I mean, you're talking about one of the best hitting teams in the SWAC.
Yep. Bryan? Charles said a whole bunch and said, no, it ain't going to happen.
Look, he knows that team better than I. All I can do is just root, light a candle, and say, let's go Texas Southern. That's all I can do.
He said light a candle. That's what happens when I break the news that FAMU has jumped over Alabama State. Now it's just like, we just going to light a candle. So let's go to the next set where we got Alabama State and Grambling. You got Alabama State and Grambling. Essentially, Grambling has to find a way to get 2 more wins than Alabama State to somehow jump there. Obviously, we talked about the fact that Alabama State travels to Prairie View, Grambling against Mississippi Valley. So you can see Grambling getting the wins they need to do it, but you need Prairie View at home to find a way to really find some magic, in my opinion, this week. Obviously, playing some good baseball. But you have a team that knows that they need to get this to hold on to some seeding. Yeah. So a lot of things there. Some magic could really happen against FAMU where they could jump them. But again, FAMU, you can't see them losing this series in that way.
Not at all.
Well, this is where the magic comes in. So what I'm talking about, if you could get Grambling to sweep, obviously their matchup, what you can see, they would be at 655. So you would need Alabama State to lose all 3. Probably more likely, potentially, would be go 1-2 in their series where they would drop to 633. And that's where the magic would take place. And that's why I'd say that Grambling has to find a way to have 2 more wins than what Alabama State does. And again, you find out real quick on Wednesday how challenged that will come. So wanted to kind of put that out there. You see any changes in the seeding from 3 to 4 in this area in terms of what will take place based on the matchups? I'm going to go with you, Bryan, since I let Charles go first. And Charles has kind of helped us out. He just saying, check this.
Let me see. Alabama State. I'm looking at this. This is some great stuff here. By the way, Doc.
Thank you.
So I'm going to agree in looking here. I'm going to agree with Edwin in that Grambling will sweep. So that'll put him at 655. Wow, man, Alabama State. I mean, yeah, you're gonna find out in that first game, how froggy Prairie View is. I think that Prairie View's fighting. I think what's interesting is Alabama State is in. Prairie View is fighting to stay in and not fall out because they can't afford. So, that whole who's going to be hungrier, and I like Prairie View being. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say Prairie View takes 2 out of 3. I'm gonna go with the home team and hope that Prairie View takes 2 out of. Well, not hope, but I think they're going to be. There's more on the line.
Oh, that's for sure.
Prairie View, and I think when you have that sentence, I mean, game 1 should be epic tomorrow. I mean, that should be a great game, which will determine, I think, how that series goes.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Charles, I'm going to move to the next one because you kept it simple. You shook your head. So I'm not even going to make you go through the action. You said it with your visuals. So let's jump down here to the next matchup, which will feature Grambling again. But this time we're looking at Arkansas Pine Bluff, the Golden Lions. Again, you talked about the good weather. They need to get one in, which is great for them. But when you talk about where they are ranked and what you see if they can run the tables this weekend and get 3 victories, sweeping Alabama A&M, which could be very feasible. Then they would be at 654. So you would that means Grambling would have to get all 3 of their games to maintain their lead. But look how close it would be.
Yeah.
655 to 654.
Yeah.
In terms of the matchup. But if Grambling slips in terms of that, meaning if Pine Bluff can get 2 more games than Grambling, or 1 more game than Grambling, they would overtake them in terms of the standings. So fascinating to see. They just need to do their thing, and they need to have Grambling slip once. And you can see them actually climb into that 4 seed, which would be wild when you think about where Arkansas Pine Bluff was projected. So kind of wanted to tease you out there. I'll leave that where it is since we talked about Grambling. You talked about the fact that they're likely to sweep. So we won't entertain that, but I did want y'all to see what could take place here. So let's go to the next series where it gets a little more interesting in terms of the Southern and Prairie View, in terms of some matchups there, in terms of where they are seated now. Obviously, Southern's been playing well. They've won 8. Prairie View's won 3. They have a matchup against Alabama State, which is ranked higher. But Southern has the matchup with the team that's desperate at home. That is their rival. So I'm like, this is interesting in some way. So you can see if Southern just wins 2 games, Prairie View can somehow put up the magic stick, they would actually jump Southern. Don't think that's very likely. But even if Prairie View can just get 2, find a way to get 2 out of 3, and Jackson State gets 2 out of 3, Prairie View still jumps Southern. They need to win 1 more game than what Southern does, and they would jump them. If Jackson State somehow gets the magic and sweeps Southern, obviously most people would see that as likely in that rivalry game, particularly how teams are playing. So Prairie View wouldn't have to win but 1 game. And they would be above them. So that 1 game difference in terms of what's going on this weekend, and I'm doing all this to let you know when you look at it how intriguing things could get and why this is a big weekend in terms of understanding how things can shift in terms of a game or 2 this weekend and key matchup. So I will let you jump in a little bit on this because it starts to tease out a little bit about that Southern and Jackson matchup. We talked a little bit about Prairie View, Alabama State, so we don't have to do that side of it. But what are you coming in thinking so far, Charles, going to you with this huge matchup? I mean, there's a lot of history on this line. I don't want to sell this short. There was a period of time where there were three teams that basically carried, and I'll be frank with this, carried baseball in this league.
Mm-hmm.
There literally was only three teams, Bryan, until Texas Southern knocked that stick off. There were only three teams that had, this is what I should say, the modern part of the SWAC, because they've lost all the old history going back from the beginning of the SWAC, sadly enough. But there was a period in the SWAC where literally Grambling, Southern, and Jackson State were the only three teams that had won the tournament championship for the SWAC, which is crazy when you think about it now, because everybody is in this and has won a championship. Charles?
I think this is fascinating when you take a look at the Southern Jackson State matchup. Like you said, so much history. I mean, I remember growing up, there were days on Saturday, Sunday, I was in tears because my Tigers had lost to Southern, especially around SWAC tournament. But it should be a very interesting matchup. And my big thing in taking a look at Southern is Jackson State. They have to jump on Southern's pitching. I think that's the sore point for Southern this year. They've caught lightning in the bottle over the past couple of weeks. They won 8 in a row. But that Southern team, they can hit the baseball. But Jackson State is one of the better pitching teams in the league. So it would be a shame to really waste really good pitching. I mean, Jackson State is second, I believe, in the SWAC in ERA, right behind Bethune-Cookman. For them to not get it done this weekend, and what the stat that I'd love to see is throughout the course of the year, how many runners have they left on base? Because it's too good a team statistically to see where they are within the standings, and that's the thing that kind of completely throws me off, because they're in the upper echelon in batting, and the upper echelon in fielding, and the upper echelon in pitching, but they've been riding. You know, they will have clunker games, just to be honest with you. Good
stuff. Bryan, did you want to get any of that, since kind of gave you a lot of history there?
No, I mean, I appreciate hearing the history. You know what I'm saying? Very, very glad to see FAMU and even Bethune as two proud programs in the state of Florida. We're excited to be a part of that history. Makes it exciting.
Good. Let's go to that last set of games with Jackson State and Texas Southern. Obviously, again, Texas Southern is on the outside looking in. But this is fascinating from this standpoint. If Texas Southern is able to win one game in Daytona, but Jackson State actually loses, gets swept by Southern, obviously it's not something that you think about, or even just gets one victory. Texas Southern would jump Jackson State.
Yeah.
So those are some things that's interesting in terms of this matchup. But check this out, Charles. If Jackson State is able to get 2 out of 3, they would actually jump all the way up past Southern.
I was about to say that would catapult them into 5 or something. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's how crazy it is. 5 through 9. 5 through 9 is going to be crazy this weekend to watch.
Yeah. So Texas Southern needs to win one more game than Jackson State this week to jump them.
Cavil McClendon versus Pablo Torres Thursday. That's going to be the matchup for Texas Southern.
Yeah. So it's fascinating when you talk about what this looks like this weekend in terms of the updates. And hopefully folks enjoyed the show. It's a little different way to look at the matchups. But I thought when we talked about having all teams playing, standing, if you would, these are the key matchups. if you would go back and look at the standings real quick, and then we'll do the matchups one more time, and then we'll close out the show. But you see, in terms of those standings, how you can look at whatever matchups you want going from top to bottom, those top 9 teams. There's a lot going on this weekend. And I just gave you a little cheat code of what to look out for. So you can always run back through the show and see these standings if you would. I'll post them also on the Facebook feed so you can see them there and kind of watch your games and seeing what's going on, starting with Wednesday. Really gets into things Thursday and Friday. And you can get a little cheat code based on where you see teams finishing based on what they're going. With that being said, let me give you the last update here. Starting with the men, 19 of 21 events have been completed. And the score now is Jackson State has gotten that point back, I guess, after some reviews. Jackson State sits at 107, projected to get 126. But some things have changed at the top. Or Texas Southern still at 125. So they have an 18-point lead, but they're still projected to get 134. So it's not supposed to be as close as it looked like it was projected a race ago. But with that being said, it'll be interesting to kind of see going down the stretch. On the other side, things have spread out too. While that looked like it was going down the stretch, we told you about the 200 women's. We still have completed 19. You have a race going on now, the 5,000. But it looks like FAMU is pretty comfortable. They have a 20-point lead over Alabama State that is currently at 102.5, projected to get to 120.5, while FAMU is projected to get to 130.5. They're currently at 122.5. 20-point lead. Big time finish by FAMU going down the stretch. Give a little credit behind that with Southern sitting in the third spot at 98.5, projected to get to 105. Prairie View is at 95.5. They're projected to get 106. So those are those teams in the captain chair. So wanted to give you that update. As you hear us close out, you get the update from baseball, and you also get your update in terms of who we see projected to win the SWAC championship. Still should be interesting with these two last races to see if anything changes. But huge leads now kind of going down the stretch. With that being said, I want to say thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, come from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. As we got a little bit into the data analytics in terms of how teams could finish for baseball, Bryan, like myself, really gets into learning some of this stuff out. We pulling Charles along. He's a baseball fan, so trust me, he's done his little data stuff as well. But as we tell y'all about analytics, not only can it project in terms of track and field races, you can see it in terms of projecting, in terms of the outcome, whether that's for so in favor of how the SIDs and coaches vote, but that's a whole different I have told him, I said, hey, man, let's start our own stuff. We do our own stuff. But Charles Edmonds said that there may be some idea that some media can get involved, depending on if the coaches ask for it. So we might have to lobby them a little bit, Bryan, to make sure they understand why it would be important to do that. And there could be two. There could be one in terms of the SID and coaches, and one that has either them added with the media or one that just has the media. I think that would have added discussion or added branding. You see it in the SEC. So it's not like it's something foreign that's going out there. But good talk. People are listening. And so let's continue to push forward. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop, Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. Be back on here to jump and give you some other insights. We'll give you an update of what's taking place from the Wednesday game and see what we can do in terms of maybe looking back in there, bringing somebody else in the fold to talk a little bit about it from their different perspective of what we did today. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. DrKenyattaCavil. That's DrKenyattaCavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on Facebook and YouTube, as you know. With that being said, dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles.
Of course.
Bryan.
Lecture.
Dismiss. Now you need to